About half of older Americans, those who are 55 years of age and older, have no retirement savings. Got that? You're 55 years of age in America, you've worked your whole life, you got zero in the bank for when you retire. And they are dependent on a Social Security benefit today that is less than $1,540 a month on average.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we're going to take a look and a listen to Senator Bernie Sanders. This was the hearing last week where he was talking about the raise or the boost, the $2,400 boost for Social Security. He's going to go into detail and he's going to tell you exactly what's in the plan. So that's what we're going to focus on today. I did a video where I showed you exactly what was in the plan. If you want to check that out, as well as I did another video with the response from Senator Romney. So if you want to check those out, I'll post a link up here. Make sure you watch this video first, and then you can go back. And at the end of this video, I'll also have another link. So don't worry if you can't click on the link right now. But I want to take a look and a listen to the different politicians talking about this, because this is very, very important when it comes to Social Security and the solvency, and we're looking at the trust fund running out of money in about 12 years. So if that situation does occur, we don't want to wait for that, but if there is a situation where we allow the trust fund to run out of money, now people receiving Social Security benefits, they're going to see a huge cut. We're talking about 23% or 22% cut in their benefits. Okay, so Social Security will still be around. However, the trust fund won't have any more money to top off, because that's what's going on right now. You have the Social Security Administration receives money from the payroll tax. The payroll tax per individual, 6.2%, and then the employer pays the 6.2%. So that's 12.4% that goes to the Social Security Administration. And with that payroll tax, that's how they're paying for the benefits that people are receiving today. However, we still need a little bit extra money, and that's the money that's coming from the trust fund. Okay, so once that trust fund runs out of money, then that's when you're going to see that reduction of 23%. So they don't want this to happen, and so that's why they're holding hearings now, and they're trying to move forward with some type of legislation. Senator Bernie Sanders has something on the table. Okay, he has a plan on the table. Now, the Republicans at this point do not have a plan on the table. They just want to talk a little bit more about this. They want to hold these different committees and talk about how to move forward when it comes to Social Security, but they don't have anything on paper yet. The Democrats, Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Warren, they actually have a plan, and that's what Senator Bernie Sanders is going to be talking about today. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first off, on this channel, we talk about money and the financial struggles that Americans are facing today. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification. That way you get notified anytime we put out a video. And like always, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right to it. There's one thing I want to talk about right now, and I'm filming this video. It's almost 1 o'clock in California, and the stock market is going crazy, and it's been down all day. This is very scary for a lot of people, because now we're looking at a situation where the economy, we're starting to see the stock market react to a lot of the different things that are going on right now. Gas prices, we saw over the weekend, gas price average over $5. And a lot of people have been paying more than $5 anyway. I mean, I'm in California. We're in the high sixes right now, and it's only going to get worse, is what people are saying, because we're looking at a situation where this is a travel season. So people are going to be getting out and traveling. Just like me, I'll be traveling in a couple weeks. So this is a real scary time for a lot of people. And that's why it's good that at least we have some politicians, not all, but we have some politicians that are talking about, hey, how are we going to fix some of these problems that we have? And Social Security is a huge problem that they're going to need to come to some type of resolution, and the sooner the better. So let's go ahead and take a look and a listen. Here we go.
In our country. And let me thank all of our panelists for being with us. And let me thank the senators who I know are going to be filtering in as the hearing progresses. My understanding is that Ranking Member Lindsey Graham has a scheduling conflict and will be making his opening statement after our witnesses testify. Is that right? Yep. Okay.
Okay, I just want to say something really quickly. So this hearing is all about Social Security. And Senator Graham, you heard there, said that he has a conflict, so he couldn't make it in time. But he actually did get there before. He got there in time. But Senator Graham did alert the committee that he would be late. Something as serious as this, and this is one of the problems that I have when it comes to politicians. Something as serious as this, you need to be there. You need to be there, and that's just shows you where's the priority. If you guys didn't check my video out yesterday, Senator Romney, he did the same thing. He had to leave. He couldn't stay there for the whole hearing, so he got there, and there's a little exchange right before it gets started. And in the video, you'll see it. So if you want to check that video out from yesterday, you'll see it. And Senator Mitt Romney, what they did is they allowed Senator Romney to go in front, or actually Senator Scott allowed Senator Romney to go in front of him because Senator Romney said that he had a meeting with a mayor in Utah. And I'm just thinking to myself, that mayor couldn't have waited for an hour and a half for this, or actually it was 2 hours. They couldn't wait for this. This is something that's important for every American. And Senator Romney saying, "Oh, I have to get back because I have a meeting with one of the mayors," or they could have rescheduled the whole thing. It just doesn't make any sense to me why this is happening. They're not seeing this. I think politicians not seeing this as a priority, because if it was a priority, they would be there. They would have no conflict of they would have the schedule set aside so they can be here and they can speak their mind when it comes to this. But these are two senators, prominent senators. One is a vice chair in this committee, and he wasn't able to get there when it started. He had to come in a little bit late, and then Senator Mitt Romney had to leave early so he can go talk to one of the mayors in Utah. Okay, so here, let's continue.
Social Security is, I think, as everybody knows, one of the most popular and successful government programs in the history of our nation. For more than 80 years, in good times and bad, Social Security has paid out every benefit owed to every eligible American on time and without delay. And I think it's important to make that point. We live in a moment of great insecurity, and yet Social Security, since its inception, has never failed the American people and remains a program enormously important to them and one that they can rely upon. Not once over more than 8 decades of operation, not during the pandemic that we're in, not during the Wall Street crash, has anyone ever received a letter or a phone call from the Social Security Administration saying, "Sorry, the economy is not doing well. We need to cut your benefits"? Never happened. And if I have anything to say about it, it never will happen. Today, while many people take Social Security for granted, it's been around for a long time, let us remember, before Social Security was created in 1935, about half of our nation's seniors were living in poverty. Today, though the poverty rate is still too high for seniors, that rate is just 8.9%. 50% before Social Security, less than 9% today. Got to do better, but that is a significant improvement. Without Social Security, it is estimated that some 22 million Americans, including more than 16 million seniors, would be living in poverty. Yet, despite this important success, we should be clear that tens of millions of senior citizens are still struggling today to make ends meet, and many older workers are scared to death, literally frightened to death, that they will never be able to retire with any shred of dignity. According to the most recent data that I have seen, 12% of seniors in America are trying to live on an income of less than $10,000 a year. Got that? 12% less than $10,000 a year. I don't know how anyone can live, seniors or otherwise, on less than $10,000. And equally important, 55% of seniors are trying to survive on less than $25,000 a year. Think about that. And when you're a senior, you're dependent on prescription drugs and health care. trying to keep your home warm, trying to make it. On 25,000 years, that's more than half of the seniors in America. Adding insult to injury, and this is an enormously important point that I think we don't make often enough. About half of older Americans, those who are 55 years of age and older, have no retirement savings. Got that? You're 55 years of age in America, you've worked your whole life, you got zero in the bank for when you retire. And they are dependent on a Social Security benefit today that is less than $1,540 a month on average. Now, despite what some politicians have been saying for years, Social Security today is not on the line going broke. Social Security has a $2.85 trillion surplus in its trust fund and can pay out every benefit owed to every eligible American for the next 13 years, okay? Social Security pay out all your benefits for the next 13 years. But what the actuaries want, what I want, what I think most people want is more than 13 years. The actuaries talk about 75 years being the kind of number that we should have as we go forward. After that 13 years, Social Security estimates that there will be enough funding, Social Security Administration estimates that there will be enough funding available to pay 80% of promised benefits. So you got all benefits for the next 13 years, 80% after that. Now, given that reality, our job, in my view, is not to cut Social Security, is not to raise the retirement age, as many of my Republican colleagues would have us do. Our job is to expand Social Security so that everyone in America can retire with the dignity that he or she deserves, and that every person in this country with a disability can retire with the security they need. And that is what the Social Security Expansion Act that I have introduced today, along with Senators Warren, Whitehouse, Merkley, Van Hollen, Padilla, Booker, and Gillibrand, is all about. This legislation has been endorsed by many, many organizations, including the AFL-CIO, the Alliance for Retired Americans, Social Security Works, the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, the American Federation of Teachers, and many, many other organizations. According to a letter, this is an important part of what this hearing is about today, according to a letter that I received from the Social Security Administration this morning, this legislation will fully fund Social Security for the next 75 years and expand benefits for senior citizens and people with disabilities. Now, how do we do that? How do you expand benefits and make Social Security solvent for the next 75 years, which is, I think, what the American people want? Well, the answer is not complicated. At a time of massive income and wealth inequality, at a time when billionaires pay an effective tax rate lower than the average working person, at a time when the very richest people in this country are becoming much richer, this legislation demands that the wealthiest people in this country start paying their fair share of taxes. Today, absurdly and grossly unfairly, there is a cap on income subject to Social Security taxes. That cap is now about $147,000 a year. Now, what does that mean? It means that if you are a multi-billionaire, you pay the same amount of money into Social Security as someone who makes $147,000 a year. Got that? It means that if you make $147,000 a year, you pay 6.2% of your income in Social Security taxes. But if you make 10 times more than that, $1,470,000, you pay 0.6% of your income in Social Security taxes. All of this.
Okay, now this is a point, I don't want to get this point lost in the discussion. So what he is saying, if you make $147,000 a year, you're going to pay that 6.2%, and then your employer is going to pay an additional 6.2%. that money goes to Social Security for benefits. If you make $148,000, that $1,000, you don't have to pay that 6.2% for that $1,000. Okay. Now let's look at the big scope, the big scheme of things. If you make 1.47 million, you're still only going to pay the same amount as that person that's making 147,000, because you don't have to pay any payroll tax from 147,000 to however much money you make. If you're making billions, you're still not paying any extra. And so that is the problem. That is a huge problem when it comes down to this whole situation. And that's one thing that they want to fix. They want to raise that cap, and people making more should be paying into Social Security as well. We should not have a cap on this. And that's how you can make sure that Social Security will be around in the future. Now, let's face reality. A lot of people who are making a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars, Social Security, they're not going to have to rely on Social Security. But nonetheless, they should be paying. Everyone should be paying into the whole system. And there could be a situation where you're making millions now, but you might still need Social Security when you're retired, depending on how you are when you retire. You can have millions one day and then not have that money in the future. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that was understood, because that's a major problem, or I would say a major flaw in the system right now when it comes to Social Security, and they do need to make changes when it comes to that.
This is taking place at a time of massive income and wealth inequality. Now, that may make sense to somebody. It does not make sense to me. Our legislation applies the Social Security payroll tax on all income, including capital gains and dividends, for those who make over $250,000 a year. Under this legislation, 93.6% of households would not see their taxes go up by 1 penny. So the overwhelming majority of the American people would not see any increase in their taxes under this proposal. The tax increase in our legislation only applies to the wealthier 6.4% of all Americans, those who make $250,000 a year or more.
Now, there's only one problem that I can see with this plan that Senator Bernie Sanders is putting forward. He's talking about $250,000 or more. That's when you'll pay the 6.2%. Okay. The President Biden made a pledge, and his pledge when he was running for president is that he would not raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000 a year. And so that's where this is going to be. There's going to be an issue, because President Biden's going to say, well, look, I don't want to raise taxes. Even if we're talking about that 93% of people won't see any difference in their taxes, or not going to have taxes raised. He made the pledge $400,000 or less. And so because he made that pledge, it's going to be hard for them to work out an agreement when it comes to $250,000 or $400,000. What I think will have to happen, and what I think is the logical thing to do, is to go ahead and bring it up to the $400,000, and then when it comes to the 75 years that they're talking about, they can reduce that down. Okay, none of us will be here in 75 years. They can reduce that down and then revisit it maybe 35 years in the future or 50 years in the future. So that's something you don't have to make it 75 years. You could make it less. That way you can take some of that money and use that to help offset when it comes to the between 250,000 and 400,000. So that's one thing that they are going to have to make an adjustment with.
Further and importantly, under this bill, Social Security benefits would be increased by $2,400 a year for both new and existing recipients, lifting millions of seniors out of poverty.
Okay, so that's a big thing there, the $2,400. Okay, so that's $2,400 boost per year.
In addition, under this bill, we would increase COLAs for senior citizens by more accurately measuring the spending pattern for senior citizens through the Consumer Price Index for the elderly.
Okay, so this is another thing. Right now, we're using the Consumer Price Index for wage earners. They want to change it to the Consumer Price Index for the elderly. It reflects better when it comes to when you're looking at the numbers, if you're working, if it's for wage earners, that doesn't really apply to the elderly who are receiving Social Security, retired. So they want to change that, and that way, when they calculate the COLA in October, it'll be a better representation. Okay, so that means that you'll probably receive more than if they were to keep it with wage earners. Okay, so we saw like every year you're going to see the COLA increase. This year we're probably going to see an even larger COLA increase. It'll probably be, no one knows right now. They're going to gauge July, August, and September. Those are the months that they use in order to calculate what the COLA will be, and they'll announce that in October. So we'll have to see where they go with that. But this is something that needs to get done. If they were to put this bill on the floor and get this passed before July, that would be ideal, because then they'll have a different calculation, because they'll be using the consumer price index for the elderly instead of what they're using right now.
Now, one of the reasons that I called this hearing, and I'm glad that Senator Graham has been able to be here, is that there is, in fact, a strong philosophical difference between many of us in the Democratic caucus and many in the Republican caucus as to the best way forward with regard to Social Security. And that's kind of the discussion we're going to have today. While virtually all members of the Democratic caucus are on record in support of expanding Social Security benefits, the Republicans, by and large, have taken a very different approach. And I'm delighted, and I hope they will show up, that some of the Republicans who have taken strong positions on this issue, I see Senator Romney's here, and I'm glad that is the case. Look forward to hearing from him. That some of the Republicans who have taken strong positions on this issue are on this committee. And I know that they're going to be explaining where they come from, and I look forward to that debate. Earlier this year, Senator Rick Scott, the chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, released a plan that would sunset Social Security every 5 years, raise taxes on millions of seniors, and jeopardize the guaranteed income of 65 million Americans who depend on Social Security.
Now, I want to talk about this really briefly, because this is very, very important. So Senator Scott from Florida, he put this plan together, and part of his plan, he talked about this very issue when it comes to Social Security. And what he wants to do is every 5 years, for all government run programs, every 5 years they need to revisit it and see if they need to keep moving forward with it. So basically, it could be a situation like they could shut down Social Security in 5 years, because they're going to have to look into see if they should continue with Social Security. It will be much like the budget. Every year they do the budget. So this would be every 5 years, but every year we have a situation where you have politicians going back and forth as far as the budget, how much to spend for the next year, and they always continue it. They always do a continued resolution, and in some situations they have a government shutdown because they can't agree on things. So could you imagine people receiving Social Security could be looking at this every 5 years, and we wouldn't know. Are they going to continue with Social Security? Are they going to try to privatize Social Security? Are they going to pull benefits? Are they going to make cuts? What are they going to do every 5 years? It would be a mess. As well as Senator Scott, in his plan, he talked about everyone should pay something. Okay, when it comes to taxes, everybody should have skin in the game. That's the word that he used. So that would mean that everyone. That means everyone who's on Social Security is every individual should have to pay something when it comes to taxes. Okay, so some people fall under that threshold. 12,000 was it 12,400, 12,600? They fall under that threshold and they don't have to file taxes. But in Senator Scott's plan, everyone is going to have skin in the game.
Just a few months ago, the Republican Study Committee in the House introduced a bill that would raise the Social Security retirement age to 69 years of age over the next 8 years and privatize Social Security by allowing employers to divert payroll tax dollars into less generous private retirement accounts. Last year.
Now, this is big, and I know this is going to be a long video, but I have to talk about some of these key points. Privatizing Social Security, or taking those funds the 6.2% and putting that into some type of a 401k or some different type of a plan. The danger with that is that, and this happened with pensions, okay? There was a time where businesses were offering pensions. A lot of businesses were offering pensions, and we're talking years and years ago. And they stopped. They didn't want to do pensions anymore. They wanted to move into a 401k because I think it was in the 80s, because a 401k is better for them. It doesn't cost them as much money, because if you receive a pension, you're going to receive that pension for the rest of your life. If you get a 401k, that money can run out. So you don't, when it comes to the businesses, they don't have to pay out as much. And so they realize that, and that's why they move forward with the 401ks. And so now you have a lot of people who are in a situation where they have a 401k, but it will run out. And when it runs out, they might be receiving Social Security on top of that, but they're really going to be in a bad situation. And so they're talking, you have politicians now talking about, hey, well, let's do something similar when it comes to Social Security. We privatize it, or we put it in a situation where this money is being diverted into some type of a different fund, and that fund can run out of money. So could you imagine you're receiving Social Security and you outlive the funds that you have for Social Security, and now you have no money at all. So it would just be a disaster.
Senator Romney, who is here with us, has opposed raising taxes on the wealthy to strengthen Social Security, introduced legislation to form a committee to propose cuts to Social Security behind closed doors. In 2020, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell told a Bloomberg reporter that, quote, he hopes to work with the next Democratic president to trim Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, end quote. In 2011, my colleague Senator Graham introduced legislation to raise the full retirement age to 70 by 2032 and index it to longevity. Further, in 2003, Senator Graham introduced a bill that would have cut Social Security benefits for current wage earners by 27%, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Now, as I think everybody knows, I don't often agree with former President Donald Trump. But this is what he said when he was campaigning for president in 2015, and he was right. He said, quote, every Republican, this is in the Republican primary, every Republican wants to do a big number on Social Security. They want to do it on Medicare, and they want to do it on Medicaid, end quote. Well, let me be clear, we cannot allow that to happen. The vast majority of the American people understand that a moral society does not give tax breaks to billionaires and then cut back on the needs of struggling seniors or people with disabilities. In fact, 72% of Americans support increasing, not cutting, Social Security benefits by asking millionaires and billionaires to pay more into the system. So that is where we are right now. It's a great philosophical difference. I look forward to the debate.
Okay, so that was Senator Bernie Sanders talking about his plan, okay? So I just wanted to play that clip so you guys can see exactly what he wants to do when it comes to Social Security. I want to talk about some of the numbers that he put out at the beginning of his speech. He was talking about Social Security recipients, 12% are receiving less than $10,000 a year. And then he talked about 55% are receiving less than $25,000 a year. So, I mean, just looking at those numbers, he's saying, and he said this, 55% are receiving less than that 25,000. And so that's the majority of people receiving Social Security are receiving less than 25,000. Just really, really interesting and sad when it comes down to it. Now, we know that that economists and as well as financial planners and everything, when they're trying to get you situated when it comes to your retirement, they always tell you Social Security should take no more than 40% of your retirement. So you need to have that 60% in investments, 401ks, all that. But it's just, when you're looking at these numbers, it's very, very, it's really sad. I mean, it's not, Social Security for a lot of people is their only form of income. But it's still not enough. Okay. And even if we're talking 40%, we should really be looking at some way to make Social Security more livable for people who are in a bad way. He even talked about half Americans at age 55 have no money saved for retirement. And so that means that these people are going to be in a situation where once they start receiving Social Security, let's say 10 years from that point, they're going to be looking at a situation where all they have is Social Security. If they don't start investing, and they have to really invest aggressively at age 55 in order to get to a point where they have a nice little nest egg. And they're still probably not going to have that much when it comes to investing in only 10 years. I mean, usually we're looking investing over 20, 30, 40 years in order to get something where you're comfortable when you retire. So I just wanted to play this clip. Now I'm going to play another clip tomorrow. We'll take a look at Senator Graham. He's going to respond to this whole plan that Senator Bernie Sanders has. And his response is very interesting. We'll play it tomorrow. I'll talk a little bit about it, but it's an interesting response, and they don't have a plan. So they're just kind of just saying, yeah, we don't like this, but we're not really going to talk about what we want to do. The only thing that we've heard politicians talk about is the raising of the age of Social Security, receiving Social Security. So they've been talking about that, 69, 70. And I don't think you can really do that and not address the big elephant in the room that you have millionaires and billionaires that don't pay anything into Social Security or the payroll tax. That's something that you need to address. And we know why they're not addressing it, because a lot of those millionaires and billionaires are helping fund their campaigns. But that's something that needs to be addressed. You can't just say, yeah, you know what, you're going to work until you're 70 now. That's the way we're going to fix this problem. But we're not going to address anything when it comes to the millionaires and billionaires and them not having to pay these taxes at 6.2%. So I want to know what you guys think. So let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.